Okay, platypuses, it's time for your English lesson. Okay, so before we start, I've got a question for you. How did people find out about the Great Fire of London? Have a think about it. Did they use cameras to take photos? Is that how we found out? Did they use mobile phones to take photos? Did they take videos of it? Have a think about it. Let's see. Okay, is this what you said? Samuel Pepys's diary. Do you remember Samuel Pepys? We have learnt a lot about him, and yesterday you did a reading comprehension all about his diary. And you've also learnt lots of facts about him. So during the time of the Great Fire of London, we know that Samuel Pepys wrote a diary, and that's how we know about it. So I'm going to show you an example here. You're going to listen to it and this is something that he might have wrote in his diary.
Sunday, the 2nd of September, 1666. I was woken by my servant Jane. She was awfully scared of something and talking rather louder than one should at such an early hour. She dragged me over to the window, and once I had rubbed the sleepy dust from my eyes, I saw what all the fuss was about. There was the distant orange glow of a fire miles away, not close enough to scare me. I told Jane not to worry and went back to bed.
Okay, so that was the first day, Sunday the 2nd of September, okay? I want you to think about, when you're listening to the diary entry, I want you to think about the description and what makes a good diary entry, because I'm going to ask you that at the after we've listened to it.
When I woke later on that day, the fire was still glowing, but the glow had grown. I climbed a hill and watched in horror as I saw that more and more houses were catching alight. The houses of London were built tight to each other, and all were made of wood, so the fire was jumping from house to house, leaving destruction in its wake.
So have a think about, are there any words that you like? Are there any words that you have liked so far in the description of what he is writing? Okay, there's lots of exciting language in there, so listen out for it. Here we go. Here's a picture of people escaping, taking their belongings with them. And let's carry on with the diary entry.
I sailed down the Thames in my boat to see my good friend King Charles and tell him about the fire. It was getting beyond control. The King told the Mayor of London to pull down some of the buildings to stop the spread of the flames, and the King's brother, the Duke of York, sent some soldiers to put out the fire. As I go to bed on this first day of the fire, I'm confident that the Duke and the Mayor can put the fire out during the night.
So not only is he describing the fire, he's telling us the event. So he's telling us what happened, and he's telling us in detail, okay, so that we can imagine what it was actually like if we were there during that time. Here we go. Here's another picture. Okay, and this is Monday the 3rd of September.
I wake up to find the weather was still hot and dry, and the wind had blown the fire even further over the city. The mayor, who was meant to be stopping the fire, has run away and left the city and all of us to ourselves. The coward! The horrid smell of smoke filled the air, and the Thames was full of boats with people and all of their possessions piled up inside. Everyone was very scared. Poor Jane could not stop her crying. By the evening of the 2nd day of the fire, it was nearly at the Tower of London, where many of my rich friends had hidden their expensive treasure from the fire.
So again, he's describing, there's lots of description there, describing the events really clearly so you can actually imagine it in your head. He's telling us the people that were involved, so he's talked about the mayor and leaving the city for everybody else to deal with it. In the on the previous page, we heard about King Charles II. So he's describing the events and the people involved. Okay, there are people there escaping in boats. They are hiding from the fire, trying to stay safe. And here we go. This is Tuesday, the 4th of September.
Oh, what a terrible day! It's Tuesday, the 4th of September, 1666, the third day of the fire, and it has become a raging inferno and spread through the city like a tidal wave because of the wind. Even St. Paul's Cathedral was destroyed by the fire. The soldiers managed to stop the Tower of London from being burnt by blowing up the houses around it using gunpowder. I can hear the crackle of flames from my bedroom, and on the horizon it is filled with black smoke and red flame. Today the fire won.
So again, there's lots of description there in that day for that diary entry. Can you see here? It's got a raging inferno, and it's got down here, it's describing the sound of the flames. So it's got I can hear the crackle of flames. And then here we've got this the horizon is filled with black smoke and red flame. So there are lots of expanded noun phrases there, okay? And lots of description telling us about the events of the Great Fire of London. Okay, let's listen to Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 5th of September, 1666. I woke this morning to find the wind had stopped blowing. Oh, what a joy! The soldiers had been busily pulling down houses to create fire breaks and stop the fire from spreading, and they had finally got it under control. By the evening the fire had been put out, but 87 churches had been burnt down, including St. Paul's, and over 13,000 houses were destroyed. People were camping outside London, waiting for it to be rebuilt. But thank God that only 6 people lost their lives to the fire. It is a miracle in a city so big.
So in this day, in the diary entry, he's telling us how he felt, okay? So he's telling us that, the wind had stopped, and he's saying, oh, joy. So he's happy that the wind has stopped, which we know is why the fire stopped, okay? It stopped spreading the fire. Do you see as well the way he has written in the first person? He's using I in his diary, okay? Because he's telling us about him, and he might be talking about other people as well, okay? So your job today is to write a diary entry describing what happened during the Great Fire of London. And like I said, you can either write in role as Samuel Pepys, okay, or you can pretend that you are somebody else living during the time of the Great Fire of London. Now, before we carry on, I want you to answer this question. What makes a good diary entry? So pause the video, have a think about it. What did you like about the diary entries that Samuel Pepys wrote, okay? Think about it. What was it that you liked? We discussed some of the things in the video. Have a think about it. Write them down. Okay, did you have a think about it? I'm going to show you. So, okay, there's definitely a date. And it's important to describe your feelings. He told us how he felt, okay? At the end there, he told us that he was feeling happy because the wind had died down and the fire was stopping. So there's lots of description in there about his feelings. Describing what happened, there's lots of description in there about the events. That's how we know about the Great Fire of London. Like I said, it's written in the first person. You usually use I in a diary entry. You're talking about yourself, okay? Or you could be describing what happened to other people. That's fine as well. Exciting language, okay? There was lots of exciting language in there in the diary entry, and that's what I'm going to be looking from you. Looking for in your diary entry from you today. Raging Inferno. I liked that one. That was a really good description of the fire. Expanded noun phrases. So lots of expanded noun phrases describing the fire, okay? So, I hope you got all of those. Now, here are some sentence starters that might help you when you're writing your diary. Okay, you can use these if you need to. So it might be that you start off with, I was woken early on Sunday morning by, and then you describe what happened. I looked out of my window and I could see. Remember, the ... means that you've got to finish off the sentences. Okay, but remember, try to use joining words. Try to use conjunctions to make your sentences more exciting. Okay, I could smell. So tell me what you could smell. I could hear. What could you hear? Could you hear people screaming? Could you hear the crackle of the flames? I was, so this is where you describe how you felt. And it might be that you say things like, as quick as a flash, I collected all of my belongings. Okay, could be things like that. And then it could be that you say something like, when we got to the street, somebody shouted to me too. What did they shout? What did they say to you? What did you have to do? So those are some sentence starters that you can use if you would like, okay, to use in your diary entry. Now, I'm going to show you how your diary entry might look. So you will have the date, like we said, and then you would write Dear Diary. And can you see the punctuation that comes after diary? It's a comma. Try to use a comma after your Dear Diary. Now, this is an example. Remember, this is, I'm looking for very exciting language. I'm looking for description. I'm looking for it to be written in the first person, so describing what happened to you, okay? Lots of expanded noun phrases, how you felt, what did you see, and what did you smell. So this is the beginning of a diary entry. So this morning, I was woken up by a deafening sound, okay? So we've got a description of, we've got an expanded noun phrase here. My mother came into my bedroom screaming at the top of her voice, "The street is on fire, run!" Fear trickled through my veins. So that's telling us how scared this person was, that they are so scared that they could fear, that they could feel it trickle through their veins. I felt frozen with panic. You know, sometimes when you're scared, you just freeze. However, as I looked out of my window and saw the thick smoke, again an expanded noun phrase describing the smoke, swallowing up the city's buildings. So it's describing what the smoke is doing to all of the city. I knew I had no choice but to act immediately. So that is an example of a diary entry, okay? Now you are writing your own diary entry, so try to think of your own sentences, but please do use these sentence starters if you get stuck, okay? And then to challenge yourself, you might start off by writing the first day, okay, so Sunday the 2nd of September, but then you might go on to writing the next day, and you can write as many days as you like, but that is an extra challenge for anybody that would like, okay? So please do send in your diary entries. Remember to include all that wonderful description that I know that you are so good at, okay? And I can't wait to listen to them I can't wait to read them, okay? So good luck with your writing.